Most bankers aren't ready to help you until after their third cup of coffee. But with Central National Bank's after-hours service, you don't have to wait for the bank lobby to open to get help. You can contact us from 6 to 8:30 in the morning or from 5 to 10 in the evening, and we'll connect you to a real, live, local person who can answer questions and fix problems 7 days a week. Bank different. Bank Central. Central National Bank. Member FDIC.
I tried to fight all through the night, deep in the heart of Texas. The trailer park is nice and dark, deep in the heart of Texas. That drinks his brew and he spits his chew, deep in the heart of Texas. The TV blares, but no one cares, deep in the heart of Texas. Here we go!
Welcome to
Wow.
King of the Hill
That was a little
Rewatch
late.
podcast. Well, mine was a little long, too.
Yeah.
I am Mike.
And I'm Rusty.
Rusty, we are Season 2, Episode 16, Traffic Jam.
Traffic Jam. This is actually a really good one.
It is a good one.
It's a really good...
Got a big star in it.
a big star, yeah. Roger Budasak.
Budasak.
There's a little trivia I wanted to start off with this.
Nice.
So, originally, Budasak's name was supposed to be Bust a Nut.
Oh,
But of
was
course,
it?
the Fox censors objected,
Sure.
and then they stepped it down a notch. They're like, all right, Bust a Sack. And they're like, yeah, you're getting there. You're not quite there. I know you want Sack or Busta, but you're going to have to pick one or the other. So they went with Sack and Buddha. So there's Buddha Sack.
Yeah, I didn't
was his name.
understand the name, but I just assumed it was like an inside joke or something.
Well, that gives you a little more understanding
That's
for his
funny.
name there. Yeah, so this episode was actually written. We'll go ahead and get the credits out the way. It was
please
actually,
do.
this one was written by Johnny Hardwick, who, of
Oh,
course,
cool.
is Dale.
Yeah.
And it's directed by Clay Hall, and he actually directed a lot of these. Clay Hall is, let me pull him back up again. I just had his stuff up and accidentally closed it. Yeah, he's an American animator, obviously, but he did television direction and stuff like that. So he's he did some direction on The Simpsons.
Oh, yeah.
Family Dog,
Family Dog.
I
I
don't
remember
remember that one. I don't
that,
remember
but it
that
was
one.
very short-lived.
Amazing Stories, Cool World, Mighty
Amazing
Mouse: The New
Stories.
Adventures. The ones that I know that he did that are really popular are The Great Mouse Detective, An American Tale, Family Dog, Bobby's World. He did Natural Born Kissers, an early episode of The Simpsons.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, really early episode. And then 1998. So I say early. It was like
Do you
8
remember
years in.
Amazing Stories? You ever heard of it?
No, I've never heard of that one.
It was a Steven Spielberg produced TV show. It was kind of like The Twilight Zone.
Oh, okay.
So like every episode, it was an anthology, so every episode was different.
Yeah,
different
yeah,
story.
okay. No, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
it wasn't on for that long. I think it's NBC. So we start this one in the Hill kitchen, and Peggy is telling Hank, which is a weird situation to me, but Peggy's saying, oh, Hank, you got to drive me to school today. I cannot stop grading. She's just grading.
Yeah, she's grading away.
like
She's
a
like in
fool.
a frenzy of grading, yeah.
And for some reason, Hank is in the kitchen brushing his teeth, which I thought was weird because there's no...
Yeah, I'm not sure why he was doing that either.
Yeah, we've never seen it, and I don't think we ever see it again.
Well, maybe not. I don't want to say for sure, but yeah.
He's like mumbling, and she goes, she understands him when he mumbles with toothpaste in his mouth. She said, "These are not spelling tests, Hank. They are what I did on my winter break essays," which we all know is super important.
Super important.
She said, "I can't waste a single grading minute here. I'm known for my one-day turnaround."
One day turnaround, yeah.
Whatever. He spits in the sink and he says, "All right, but we got to hurry. Paint and Paper is having their 8 a.m. madness sale." So it's not even 8 o'clock in the morning yet at this point. It's got to be pretty early,
Yeah.
right? They get in the car, and I don't know what. I guess she's saying these are what the winter trips were what I did on my winter break.
Yeah,
Because I was a little confused. She goes, trip to Dallas, B. Trip
to Waco. There we go. There's
B.
a shout out.
Trip to New York City, C. And then we
What the
get a
hell?
crash.
Yeah.
And Hank, backing out, has crashed into Con's little blue minivan.
And for those of you that aren't in Texas or aren't from Texas, one of the unspoken rules, and I don't know, it might even be actual in the guide handbook for driving, is when you back out to the right, not to the left.
I never knew that.
You didn't know that?
I did not know that.
My dad always taught me that. It was just like some weird
Really?
road rule. And one of the things that would always piss him off too is if you're driving and you're like in the middle lane or you're
Yeah.
in the far lane,
Yeah.
The fast lane, and
you're going slow?
you're going slow
Yeah.
or you're passing people
Well,
on the
it's
slow
supposed to be a
side.
passing lane
Yeah,
only.
he's real
Yeah.
weird about that. Gets
I'm-
uncomfortable.
I'm with him on that one. So Hank is taken back. What the hell? And then we get Con getting out, and he's like, my neck is broken. I sue you for everything you have. And then he's very disappointed because,
Yeah.
it's Hank Hill. What's the point? I have everything you have, but better.
But better.
And Hank says, Con, on this side of the earth,
we back out to the right. Yeah.
He said, yeah, just my luck. I run into uninsured redneck.
Uninsured.
And
redneck.
then Hank, very proud of these sorts of things, just like with his checkbook or anything else. Not only am I insured, I happen to be a member of the Perfect Payment Club.
The Perfect Payment Club.
Well, what the hell do you get for being in the Perfect Payment Club?
You know, I don't know. I don't know what the Perfect Payment Club is.
So Con kind of looks around after hearing that and he goes, my neck is broken. So I guess being part of the Perfect Payment Club means that you're going to get a payout if you're hit by one of these drivers.
Oh, okay.
I'm assuming that's what he was saying.
Yeah, that's what he was hitting at
Yeah.
anyway.
So now we're at the insurance claims office, and this looks like a horrible place to work with all the cubicles and all the people
Yeah.
milling around. The woman says, did you have anything to drink this morning, Mr. Hill? He said no. She said, do you use mouthwash or cough syrup? He said no. She said, did you eat an unusual amount of sausage? Which is
I've never heard of that.
really
Yeah.
weird question. He says, look, am I covered or not? She says, yes, you're covered, minus the deductible. And, of course, your insurance rates will go up.
Yeah.
And he's got a fair point here.
Yeah, he does have a fair point. But just to touch on who this lady's voice is. So this lady is voiced by a woman who is of Finnish and Japanese heritage. That's her she has split heritage. But her name is Amy Hill. I'm trying to find her. I've got her biography. I didn't want her biography. I wanted her filmography.
So his whole point here, while you're looking that up, is that why should my rates go up, Miss Ka Aliki Ahali?
Yeah, Miss Ka. He said it really good.
He says it perfectly.
And then it's okay. So she go back to it. She was on 51st dates. Whenever they were at the restaurant, she's the woman, the older lady at the restaurant, and like how the big cook is like the cook, and there's like the short lady who does like the serving or whatever. Her name's Sue, and she's always trying to protect her. She was the one that was real rude to Adam Sandler or whatever, trying to protect her.
Okay, all right.
She was in Next Friday too. She's been in quite a few different things as a voice actor and stuff too. She's done some voice stuff, and
he's confused because he's like, why should my rates go up?
Yeah.
And she says, well, it's going to cost us to fix your truck. He said, what kind of insurance is that? Why don't I just take out a loan and fix my truck and avoid the middleman? And that is a super fair point.
That is a fair point.
Why wouldn't you? But she has a point as well. She says you can't drive without proof of insurance. However, you can avoid the rate increase if you go to traffic school. Have you ever been to traffic school?
I've never been to I've never had to go. I've never
Really?
needed to. Well, I've had a lot of no license tickets.
Yeah.
I didn't get my license until I was 26. So I'd gotten about 5 or 6 of them, and on that sixth or seventh, somewhere around there, ticket, I was like, yeah, well, I'm done paying these. I'm tired of paying a ticket for no license. So I went and I called like the judge for the county or whatever that I got the ticket in, and they were like, yeah, if you go down and get your license within 30 days, we'll throw out the ticket. All you got to do is pay like $10 for the administration fee.
Right.
So I was like, well, I'd rather just go pay the $10 and go get the license than pay another they're like $300,
Isn't it
$250
crazy
tickets.
though that the penalty of driving without a license is just a fine? I mean,
it's a huge fine too.
But
It's
I'm saying
it's a
it's not
decent
like
fine.
they say, okay, you got to go sit in the clink for a little while or anything.
No, and sometimes they'll let you drive off. Like
It's
every
so weird to
actually
me.
every
Yeah.
no driver's license ticket I've ever had,
They just let you drive.
they
off.
let me drive off.
So weird. But she hands him a bunch of pamphlets. I did have to go to defensive driving school
Defensive. Okay.
a couple times, I believe. And then I've taken it online a few times just to save money on my insurance.
Yeah.
So you can pay like $20 and you take defensive driving online. It takes you maybe 2 hours.
You
to
miss
do the
out
whole
on a
thing.
buffet meal, like the Golden Corral.
Screw that.
Go down to the Golden Corral. And
I
do
wouldn't say
defensive
I'm
driving.
missing it.
Or Luby's, if we had a Luby's.
Yeah.
A
we-
Luly's
it's
is what's
crazy
it
that
called?
we don't have a
Luly's in King of
Luly's
the Hill?
anymore. Yep.
Yeah.
So we are back at home, and Luann, Bobby, Hank, and Peggy, they're all sitting around going over these pamphlets.
Yeah.
One of my favorite words, pamphlet.
Pamphlet.
And Luann, in her only speaking role in this episode, says singles traffic school, smokers traffic school, vegetarian traffic school.
Which is weird. Like
She says it's
okay.
like no matter what problem you have, they have a traffic school for it.
Yeah, Alcohol
Well-
Anonymous traffic school. Yeah, Narcotics Anonymous.
That's right.
If you smoke crack
That's
and
right.
drive,
If you love
yeah.
crack and you love to drive. Bobby says, hey, ice cream lovers traffic school, I can help you with your homework. And then
Yeah.
Hank is like, no, I don't need any fancy frills or nonsense. He's thinking that he's going just a straight up,
just a normal
regular, yeah.
And he ends up picking the stand-up comedy
Well,
traffic school,
the pamphlet just says deaf on it.
like
DEF.
Def Jam.
Right, like Def Jam.
Okay.
Yeah, and he says Defensive Driving School. Just hope they know more about driving than they do about spelling.
Well, there was a wrestling game that I used to like. It was called Def Jam Wrestling, and they would have all of the
I didn't know there
rappers
was
and
a
stuff
Def Jam
like
wrestling, really?
like Method Man
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I think Ja Rule might have been on there. 50 Cent was on there on one of them or something. But you're just
so
like it's like
goofy.
a backyard wrestling with
Yeah.
rappers and
Yeah,
stuff.
it's so crazy. Well, I mean, there was an ICP one also.
Yeah, backyard wrestling was that game called.
Yeah. And I want to point out in the pamphlet it says no lecturing and that it's painless. So that's the only thing it says in the pamphlet. The rest of it is like that fake made up words.
Just lines, just
Yeah.
squiggles.
Lorem ipsum, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Next scene, we are at a strip mall, and we're at what I'm assuming is a comedy club, Snaps with a Z. So you know that it's Street Smart. It's got the Z on the end. The other two things that we see in this strip mall are dentistry and frozen yogurt.
Yep.
So you can get your comedy. You can
So
get your
that
teeth
shows you
fixed,
how
can get
forward.
frozen
Well, that
yogurt.
shows you how forward thinking King of the Hill was,
Mhm.
especially for the area that we're in here. There was no frozen yogurts in this area in 1998.
No, probably not.
No,
No.
I thought frozen yogurt was like really not new, but like on the newer end for us.
For us,
Yeah, like
Yeah, we
frozen
just-
yogurt. Like I only thought of frozen yogurt. I was like in my 20s when I
we just
even
got color
thought of
TV
it.
10
yeah.
years ago.
We only got color TV.
So
yeah. Still got full on my antenna.
my dad used to work at an electronics store, and one of the things they sold, because it was a locally owned electronics store when those were still a thing.
Yeah,
They
like
sold,
Radio Shack.
yeah, but it was independent. So they sold TV antennas. And I remember growing up, I would see those TV antennas in the box, and some of them would say color TV antenna.
Oh wow.
There is no such thing as a color TV antenna.
No, there's
You just
not.
get a TV signal.
It's just a TV
It's whether your
antenna,
TV
yeah,
is
yeah.
black and white or
Well,
color.
because you could still use if you have a TV with they all have it now, but
Yeah.
but the newer you could put in any piece of metal, whatever.
Oh yeah, sure.
And get so
But
what I used to do is
they would sell it to you as a color TV.
yeah,
antenna.
I used to have this radio when I was a kid that would play all kinds of bands.
Right.
Like you would get all kinds of different radio stations and stuff like that. It was a multi-band.
Yeah.
It had
Yeah.
tons of different
Like a
bands for
world
different stuff.
band
Yeah,
kinda
like one of
thing.
those
Yeah,
kind of
sure.
radios. Well, I'd rigged up this antenna out my window as I was in the 2-story part of the house. So I had like the higher, I
Yeah.
got all the clear radio waves and
Yeah.
stuff. So I would at night I had this huge weird rigged up antenna that I would hook on this nail.
Mm-hmm.
And I would lean it out, hook it up, and I could pick up like air traffic controllers talking to each
That's
other.
crazy.
And I would sit there and
Yeah.
listen to. I could hear the
Yeah.
airport and everything from the TSTC airport and the Waco airport. I could
Oh,
hear
that's
all
super cool.
of the radio controls between them, and like you would have airplanes that would be 20,000 feet in
Yeah.
the air flying over, and I
Yeah.
would get their signals and stuff.
Do you
when they
know
were
that
talking.
you get better signals from radio and TV signals or whatever when it's cloudy?
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's because the clouds hold stuff in. Like when
Also,
it's,
it kinda
when
just,
it's
like,
sunny, they go up
projects.
further.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's harder to get.
So it helps like project the signal downward.
That's what they told me. Now,
that
again,
could
they
be
told me
right.
there was a color TV antenna, so maybe that's wrong.
Blinker
I don't
fluid.
know.
They
That's
tell
right.
you there's blinker fluid too?
That's
Okay.
right, that's right. So Hank is at Snaps, where he's going to take his deaf-intensive driving school.
Yeah.
And, of course, Con's there. He says, hey, what are you doing here, Hank Hill? Hillbilly traffic school all full up? And Hank says, cut the comedy, Con. It was your reckless disregard of backing out procedure that put us here. I want to see you taking notes.
Hey, I want to see
Like
you
he's going to
taking
force
notes.
him to take notes. And then the lights go out, a spotlight turns on, and a DJ starts spinning records. And out comes Budasak, played by Chris Rock.
Chris Rock.
Yeah.
Shout out to Chris Rock.
So this was, what did we say, 98?
Yeah, 98.
So was he on SNL then?
Is
that right?
Yeah, he should.
It's about
around
right,
that
isn't it?
time. I think so.
About that same time. Yeah. Yo, Budasak in the house, Budasak in the house, Budasak in the house. And then everybody starts
Buddha,
laughing.
Buddha.
He says, I want to welcome you all to Deaf-Intensive Traffic School. That's right. Deaf-Intensive
Deaf-intensive.
Traffic School. I'm
I'm deaf and y'all be
defensive.
offensive.
That's right.
Or whatever the hell that's
They
supposed
think
to be.
that's super funny, which I didn't, but okay.
Yeah, I didn't either.
And then the DJ, Kid Mookie, says, Budasak, you crazy.
You crazy Buddha say.
Kid Mookie.
Kid Mookie.
He said, yo, check it out. Look at all the white people we got up here in traffic school tonight. And they say only black people break the laws. Everybody starts laughing, and
The
Hank's
crowd
like,
howls.
but that's not true.
But that's not
That's
true. Yeah.
and then Con's sitting right next to him. He's like, shut
Shut
up,
up,
Budasak on a roll. And then there's
We're getting into some controversial stuff now on this episode.
some of
so
this might be a little bit of triggering.
Yeah, a little disclaimer.
There is a larger lady sitting on the front row. And Buddha refers to her. He says, check out girlfriend. Got a booty so big.
Well,
if you
we
put
got to
numbers
remember
on
that
it."
this comedy was in the 90s before
Sure.
a lot of these things
Sure.
were not really as accepted. But I think they should in comedy. I don't think comedy should
He said,
be censored.
she got a booty so big, if you put numbers on it, she could press license plates, which is kind of funny.
It is. It's a funny joke.
And Con's like, check it out, Buddha. He said, hey, baby, now after class, you and I get to do a little detention. You know what I'm saying? Know what I'm saying? I don't like Budasak.
I don't
I'm
either.
just telling you, he's not a
I don't
great
know.
person.
Yeah, I don't know how much
And he's not funny.
Chris
so-
Rock. I wonder how much riffing Chris Rock
Yeah,
did. in
yeah.
this.
I don't know.
Probably a lot. Probably a lot.
Hank, of course, has a problem with all this, says this has nothing to do with defensive driving. Excuse me, sir. I don't mean to criticize
Well-
your lesson plan.
Well,
but
it shows you.
do you have a lesson plan?
It shows you how monumental this show became.
Sure.
If you've already got, that's probably I wouldn't say the height of his popularity, but that was like the beginning of the height of his popularity.
Chris Rock?
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
like the beginning
That's
of
what I
the
was
height of his
asking,
popularity.
You know, trying to kind of pinpoint where his
because he was in
career
Lethal
at the
Weapon.
time.
You gotta
Yeah.
think he was in Lethal Weapon 4
Yeah.
around this time.
Was it?
Yeah, Lethal Weapon 4 is around 97, 98.
Huh.
Gotta be. Hold on, let me just check that real fast because
All
that's gonna take me a second. But I'm pretty sure.
So Hank is questioning whether Budasak has a lesson plan or not, and Buddha replies with, "What'd you say? What'd you say? You trying to say a black man can't put together a lesson plan? I got a lesson plan. I ain't planning on teaching lesson. You shut up." Again, not great, not super funny,
No,
but okay. Hank gets offended and says, well, hold on now. I didn't mean to be. And he says, Cracker, are you taking me serious? He said, gotcha, Cracker. And then Hank, of course, he thought he was in trouble. Now he's not. And he says, look, learning good driving skills is no laughing matter. And then, of course, Budasak, go Cracker, go Cracker. And the whole audience joins in. They're just
goes
chanting,
crazy
go
with it,
Cracker,
yeah.
go Cracker. Yeah.
Actually, so when this show was produced, the release date for the Lethal Weapon 4 was July 10th, 1998.
Okay.
And the release date for this TV show is February 22nd, 1998.
Oh, wow.
So I imagine
Yeah, it's right
that
there.
They probably have already filmed or been filming. Or
Good job, Rusty, knowing,
Yeah.
knowing the year of Lethal Weapon 4
Lethal
for
Weapon
some
4.
reason. I
The
don't
first
know
one was
why you know that.
1987.
Wow. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I feel well, you and I collectively felt old just a few minutes ago. There was
Listening
another
to Jaws,
show.
listen to the other show.
There was another show in
which
here.
you guys all should check out.
Kid Stays in the
Kid
Podcast.
Stays in the Podcast. It's
But
a
they
movie-
were doing, it's a father and son duo, and they
Yeah.
talk about movies they go see, and they went to see a reissue of Jaws.
Yeah, remastered in
That's been
IMAX.
remastered, IMAX, 3D, all this stuff.
Yeah, cranked up to 100.
And then they said, yeah, it's a 50-year-old movie. And I thought, oh, my God, it's 50 years old. I remember being in the theater to see that. Yeah.
I don't.
So, thanks for having my back on that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're solo on that one, friend.
So we're back at home with Bobby, Peggy, and Hank. They're eating the TV dinners.
Yep, eating the heck out of them.
Which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
I don't know that we see them eating TV dinners every time. Last time it was the crumbling tacos.
The fistful of tacos.
Yeah, the ones that crumble as soon as
that's
they
what they call. They call that dish the fistful of tacos.
Fistful of tacos. That's right. Bobby is like Budasak, the Budasak. I saw him on TV 3 years ago on Breakfast at the Apollo.
Breakfast at the Apollo.
Breakfast at the Apollo. He said he was making fun of white people, like how we talk funny and we don't have any butts. He's one of the reasons I want to be a comedian. Hank is like, look, there's something we haven't told you, Bobby, but maybe now's the time. You see,
show business is inherently
evil. Yeah, and Peggy.
Hank, we agreed not to have this discussion until Bobby is 15. I don't understand why.
It's just an arbitrary age.
Yeah.
Hank says, I know, but it's time for some tough love. Bobby, comedians are show-offs. Sure, they get beautiful women and drive fast trucks.
They have fast trucks. Yeah, that's all. His mind went straight to the fast trucks. That's all he was worried about.
No, you're missing the point, son. Comedy is not a stable career. I'm going to take you to that traffic class tonight so you can see the lonely, pathetic future comedy has to offer. And Bobby's just excited because he's like, I get to meet Budasak. What am I going to wear? Budasak. Now we're back at Snaps with a Z on the end so that you know it's street smart. And Budasak is saying, because white people would be driving all bent up over the steering wheel going, oh, dear, I think we've missed our exit.
That's actually funny.
It's so stupid.
Yeah, that's stupid, but it's funny.
And Hank says, see what I mean, Bobby? It's just sad. And Bobby's just laughing. He's spitting out his soda and the whole thing. And Khan's laughing. The whole crowd's laughing. He says, yeah, white people drive just like that. And then Budasak says, only one thing worse than white people driving, that's a DWO, driving while Oriental. So now he's hit Khan where he lives. Khan's like, oh, cheap shot. And then Bobby says, you the man, Budasak. You know what I'm saying? And Hank is flustered. He's like, Bobby, he'll see you. And then Buddha, hearing Bobby, and to the delight of Hank,
calls him Opie Taylor.
Bobby is called up to stage, which
hey,
is
Opie
just another
Taylor,
part
get
of the
your
room.
butt up here on stage.
Yeah, he said, popping fresh, and pokes him in the belly. So like the Pillsbury Doughboy.
Yeah, very doughy.
Yeah,
he's a
Hank.
Doughboy ain't right.
Hank sees him poke him in the belly, and he says, "Now see here, Mr. Sack, that's my boy." And then
that's got to be Hank trying to address this guy is funny because you could see they put in like a little hint of like hesitation in saying sack.
Yeah,
he doesn't want to say sack.
Mr. Sack.
Sack.
And Buddha responds with, hey, it's all good, baby. It's all good. I was just laying with my man here. No. What's your name, young brother? And he asks Bobby, and Bobby says, Bobby Hill. And he says, bouncing Bobby Hill. Now tell me, Bobby, does your man drink a lot of beer? Bobby says, yeah.
Yeah.
Crowd's laughing. He says, no. Don't lie, Bobby. Does he just stand around all day drinking beer with his other white friends?
This one took me out. I was laughing my ass off on this one. Yeah.
Does he stand around all day drinking beer with his other white friends going, yeah?
He goes, no. They go,
yep.
Yep. Yep.
So the whole crowd's laughing. Hank is just mortified. Sit down, son. They're not laughing with you. They're laughing at me.
Yeah.
Which is a really great quote. Buddha says, now, little blood, tell me why you're in the house. Did you get a ticket for rubbing your butt too hard on your banana seat? Which, okay.
Yeah, all right. Whatever the hell that means.
So banana
That's
seat.
kind of a weird
You know what
joke.
a banana seat is, right?
I know what a banana seat is. Yeah, it's like the beach cruiser bikes with the big seat
big
or whatever.
Seat. Yeah.
And then they have like the I guess the headache rack on the back or whatever they call it. Yeah.
Bobby says, no, my dad brought me here. He wanted to show me how sad and lonesome you are underneath.
You right. Budasak is a sad man.
Sad man.
But not as sad as your daddy's sorry self with his 4 eyes, 2-minute pies, supersized Cracker Jack prize. Somebody help me. Then Bobby says, and he likes French fries.
None of this makes any sense.
None of it makes sense.
Supersized Cracker Jack prize, and he likes French fries. Okay,
well, see, he's calling him a geek, fat,
blind,
and cheap. Right?
Yeah.
So blind, fat, cheap.
2-minute pies is fat.
If you're eating 2-minute pies, if you're like, that's like a microwave pie. If you're microwaving your pies, you might have an eating disorder. Like if you can't wait,
You heard it here first, folks.
yeah, if you can't wait
Your-
the time it takes to make
your
a regular
micro-
pie. I mean, if you buy like a Walmart pie that you
You're
leave sitting out and it
microwaving
thaws
your
out or whatever,
pies.
that's different. But
Yeah, I
please do
gotcha.
not microwave apple pies.
Don't microwave your pie. The crowd thinks it's very, very funny, and he said. Then Buddha says, "Ladies and gentlemen, this kid's going to be the next White rerun."
Yeah, rerun.
But yeah, it was a situation comedy. Took place in Nell's Diner, and there were three friends. What's the name of it?
Hold on, it's a TV show. You said?
Yeah, it's a TV show.
Okay.
Yeah, rerun TV show.
The rerun show,
No,
sketch comedy.
no, wasn't rerun show.
The only thing I could see is it was a dude named Rerun on a TV show called What's Happening.
That's it. Yeah.
Oh, that's
What's
it?
happening?
What's
Yeah.
happening?
So,
Okay.
so
his name was Fred Berry.
yes, but
Fred Allen
he was
Berry,
called
yeah.
Rerun
He was called
on the
Rerun.
show. And Rerun is a portly individual who always wore suspenders and a weird little like French hat.
Yeah.
But he would do this dancing where he'd flop his hands all over himself and like and the weirdest thing about that show was that it's a almost entirely an African American cast, but at one point there was an episode where the Doobie Brothers came to town and they were all over themselves going to see the Doobie Brothers,
Yeah.
which I cannot even imagine. I mean,
I
I
couldn't
just
imagine
that
either.
is not really a traditional like R&B or anything. It's the Doobie Brothers.
Yeah.
I can't think of a much wider band. So
No, it's pretty. Yeah.
anyway, I believe Rerun got in trouble for scalping some tickets to the Doobie Brothers concert. Somebody
wow.
might want to look that up. So Hank is mortified. He's got his head in his hands, and they take a commercial break, and so will we, and we will be
Right
back.
back.
One trash fight all through the night, deep in the heart of Texas.
So we are back, and all four of the guys are in the alley. Hank, Dale, Bill, and Boomhauer, and they are saying, "Hey, Hank, how's driver's ed?" And this is Bill. Bill very rarely gets to make fun of Hank. It usually goes the other way around, and so he's like, "Hey, Hank, how's driver's ed?" I only ask because I'm concerned, and he's laughing. Hank says, "I still have one more class till I'm through. Everyone knows you back out to the right." And then all four agree, yeah. It's not a brain surgeon's common knowledge. And then Hank gives us a little insight into the
On
neighborhood.
his neighbor. So this was kind of cool.
Yeah.
So we learned out who lived there before
Right.
the Soofanusen folks.
13 years Dave Hansen lived in that house. Never once did he
Big
back
old
into
Dave
me.
Hansen.
But then Bill says, yeah, of course he was a 500-pound shut-in. Dale's like, shame he had to move. They replaced that wall pretty nice, though.
yeah, and then you look and there's like the wall's like off-colored brick.
I guess
the
they had to
brick's
get him
different
out
color.
through put him in one of those piano cases.
It kind of reminds me of those shows like actually it doesn't even remind me of a show. What's that one movie? What's Eating Gilbert Grape, when they had to burn the house down because they couldn't
yeah.
get his mom out after
Yeah.
she had died, so they just
Absolutely.
burnt the whole damn house down instead. That's kind of morbid.
Out comes Bobby with what looks to me like a little toy speaker thing with a fake microphone on it.
Yeah, like little
And
karaoke kids and karaoke bugs.
He comes out with his comedy routine. Yo, Bobby Hill is in the house. And Hank's like, what the? Bobby says, would you look at all the white people standing around? Ain't got no butts, y'all, the no butt havingest people. Bill thinks it's hilarious.
Yeah, that was all of them.
No
Yeah,
butts.
They're all cutting up.
Yeah, and Bobby's like, white people always be walking around like this.
They did
And
some weird little duck walk. Like
well,
had
he's
a
like got his
pine
butt
cone in
clenched
his
up.
ass, yeah.
He said, white people always be walking around like this, like they be crushing diamonds in there or something. Look at me, I'm white. And of course, Dale spits out his beer. Dale and Bill are just laughing it up. And then Bobby's like, y'all peace up, I'm outie.
I'm outie.
And plays his outro
Y'all
music,
peace
which
up.
is wonderful.
Wow.
And Bill, of course, being a great crowd, says,
He
"Ooh,
is, he's
What?
the one thing that you could get out of Bill is like consistent, like
oh yeah."
crowd work.
Oh,
he's really
absolutely.
good at being the crowd.
Bill's like, oh, white people do walk like that, really, especially in the Army. Boomhauer, man, that stuff ain't got no butt, man. I tell you what, it's funny because it's dang old true. And Hank is, look, I appreciate you guys humoring Bobby, but what the boy needs right now is to be demoralized into giving this up.
Yeah, that's
What a
terrible
great
as
plan.
hell. Yeah, that's
Let's demoralize
that's a little
him.
rough. I think that's a lot of Bobby's problem is everything he tries, his dad always tries to get him to stop doing it.
Oh, absolutely. That's part of it. Sure.
And Bobby's usually
well,
like,
everything's a lesson.
but that's the thing is Bobby has proven himself to be really good at a lot of different things that he can't explore because his dad always wants him to do some quote unquote manly activity.
Yeah. Bill is still on the look at me, I'm white, and just laughing and falling down
Yeah.
at this point. Bobby rides up to the next thing we get is Bobby riding up to what's the name of this place? Slaps? Skits?
Snaps.
Snaps? Snizzles?
Snizzles.
Snizzle
Snaps.
snaps?
No, it's called snaps.
Snaps. You see him walking. You
With
see,
his
because it's street smart. You see him riding his bike up to Snaps. So I don't know how far this place is away from the Hill House,
A bike ride.
but it's a bike ride. Yeah. But then I
There's
start.
a bike. I think it's one of those towns though. That everywhere is a bike ride
Yeah.
away from everywhere.
Well, I say that, and then I start thinking about all the places I went on my bike when I was a kid. I mean, I did go everywhere. I mean,
I used to.
I would go forever.
Yeah.
We took some big trips.
Yeah.
Uh,
Same. I've done some crazy bike rides around here.
So Bobby rides up. He goes into the club to introduce himself to Buddha Sack.
Sack.
And he catches Buddha just sitting in the dark club, filling up ketchup bottles.
It's kind of depressing.
Very
because
depressing. Yeah.
When it kind of is, it reveals the truth. Like whenever Hank said what Hank said about him being sad and depressed.
Hank was on to something. It's just the delivery that's the issue.
Oh, he always has terrible delivery. But this is one great thing that I like about this show is how it ties it all up here at the end when we get to it.
Sure. Bobby says, I was in your class the other night. I saw you on Breakfast at the Apollo, and Buddha's a little
kind of taken
surprised at
aback.
that. Yeah, he said, you
saw
that? I did some TV years back. I did
TV.
the LA thing. Sit down, have a bottle of ketchup.
That makes
Like,
Bobby
that's the
laugh.
thing,
Yeah, it's
is
kind of
give a
weird. It's
bottle
kind
of
of
ketchup.
random, but yeah.
He says, so how come you're in Arlen? I mean, you're really good. He says, I got a little risque on Moesha a couple of years ago. It's been hard for me ever since. Anyway, TV's not where it's at, Bobby. I'm just giving people the same old stereotypes, playing the same old stories. I didn't want to do that. What I want to do is make people laugh and think. You know what I'm saying?
Never mind. You could edit that out, Mark. Yeah.
Bobby says, that's why you teach traffic school, because you want to make people laugh and think. He says, yeah, that's why I teach traffic school. And you can just see the sadness in Buddha Sack.
Yeah, he seems pretty sad.
So Bobby says, hey, I've been working on some new stuff. Check it out. And Buddha just sits there with his mouth wide open while Bobby does this terrible comedy. He says, white people think the hood is something on their sweatshirt. And how come the cops always be pulling me over? What's up with that? Buddha's like, yeah, that doesn't work for you.
Yeah, so this is where he has the conversation with him, letting him know that comedy is comedy, but you got to have your own.
Sure.
Everybody's got their own lane.
Well, he tells him, he says, a little piece of constructive criticism, you're not black.
Yeah.
Bobby's like, oh, okay.
That's
Like
not
he
your
didn't-
joke.
like he
Yeah,
didn't
it's
know
not
it.
your joke, Bobby.
Bobby is just he's so innocent at times.
Yeah, he is. Most of
really
the time.
Yeah. He says, oh, you got to be real, Bobby. You know what I'm saying? And Bobby's like, oh, not really. He said, you're a white man. Get in touch with your white roots. Think of stuff that's funny from your point of view. This is terrible information, by the way, to give a child, because he's going to do exactly what Bobby is about to do.
Oh, absolutely.
And so he said, well, my dad's got a narrow urethra. And Buddha thinks that's pretty funny. And then Bobby says, but my dad says that comedy is not a real job.
Not a real job.
Yeah. And then Buddha comes back with, well, comedy ain't about listening to your dad. You think Shucky Ducky got the way he was listening to his daddy?
Yeah, old Shucky
Who the hell
Ducky.
is Shucky Ducky?
Yeah, I don't know.
But all right, that's part of the universe now. Shucky Ducky.
Shucky Ducky.
It says, listen, I got dope comedy jams Sunday nights. As soon as you get real, come on down. And he says, thanks, Buddha Sack. So he's basically invited Bobby to go to an open mic comedy jam.
Which some of the best start that young.
Sure, absolutely. Okay.
I think Dave Chappelle was like 14 when he did one of his first ones or something like that. He was
probably
really, really young.
This next scene is the weirdest thing. This, to me, I looked at this episode really differently because there are some weird things that happen. One, Hank brushing his teeth in the
yeah, that was
kitchen.
odd. That was different.
Now you get Hank with a bag of walnuts, crushing them in a vice. Which, what?
Yeah.
Why is he?
I don't know. And it's kind of funny because the whole joke in the whole show is sack.
Yeah.
And he's sitting there crushing up some nuts.
Crushing a sack of nuts.
Yeah,
That's
crushing
right.
a sack of nuts. So I don't know.
He's
if
got
that's
eye
like some
protection
kind of
on,
like
the whole thing. Yeah.
like some poetic understanding they were supposed to have of that, or I don't know.
Bobby says, Dad, Budasak thinks I'm funny and I could go up on his amateur night. And Hank's like, listen, son, let me put this in terms you can understand. I am not down with that. What I mean to say is no.
he had to put it in terms he could understand and still
I'm
tell
not
him
down
no.
with that. Yeah. Bobby says, Budasak says I shouldn't listen to you. He says good comedians are rebels and they never listen to their dads. And that is not the right thing to say to Hank.
No, not really. Anything that has to do with anything that has to do with
it's honestly not
anything
good
has
advice
do with
to say
Bobby.
to any kid
Yeah.
about their dad, but no matter
No,
what's
not
happening.
really.
Hank says, what? Now the guy's trying to turn my own kid against me. So the next scene we have is we are back at traffic school at Snaps Snoozles.
Which, to an extent, he is right. Anybody with an oppressive father that's telling you that
Well, sure.
whatever artistic endeavor that you want to try is not worth trying,
But I don't know.
still try it.
I don't know that it's the ketchup transferring comedian's job to tell Bobby that maybe he shouldn't.
He should
listen
maybe
to
not
his
that.
dad.
Maybe not in that way. He should have been
Yeah.
more tactful. Like,
Well, I think you don't.
pursue your dreams.
I think you don't. Yeah. I
there
think
you go.
just
Pursue
say,
your dreams.
You just say, listen,
Whatever it takes,
Bobby, don't
pursue
let
your
anybody
dreams.
drag
Yeah.
you down or something
Yeah.
like that.
Don't like you can't target one individual in that kind of broad of a conversation.
So we're back at Snap Snizzles and
Snoozles,
Snoozles,
snazzles,
Snizzles,
razzle dazzles.
and we've got Hank giving it to Budasak. He says, "You have no manners. It's obvious your
No
mother did not
manners.
raise you right." And that
You talking about my mother?
well, the DJ before that, he's like, "Oh,
Oh yeah, the DJ.
Yeah, you don't wanna go there.
Uh-oh.
And so Buddha,
Womp, womp.
thinking now we're in a Your Mama So Fat contest, says, you talk about my mother, let me tell you about your mother. Your mother's so fat she jumped up in the air and got stuck. Hank is like, what? He said, yeah, that's right. I saw you say your mama's so fat that she freebases ham.
Your mama's so
Which I
fat
like that.
she freebases
Freebases
ham.
ham.
That's actually pretty good. Yeah, I like that one.
And Hank responds with, first of all, my mother is not overweight. She weighs 120 pounds, which is perfectly normal for a woman her age. Which Hank, he has no sense of humor, doesn't realize what's going on. And then Buddha starts kind of marching around doing this Def Comedy Jam kind of thing. And he says, your urethra is so narrow, sperm be going through single file like hut 2, 3, 4, sperm 2, 3, 4.
Little
Hank-
soldiers.
Hank has had enough. He says, okay, that's it, potty mouth. I've had enough. This is supposed to be a classroom. I'm leaving. And Buddha says,
You leave my class, I'm gonna flunk
I'm going
you.
to flunk you. And Hank's like, yeah, well, we'll see about that. So Hank has had enough to go to what he considers the authorities at this point. We're back at the Hills
The Hill
house,
residence.
and we're in Peggy's office /
Yep.
water
The water closet. For
and
those of you that don't know what a water closet is, because I think that's a southern. That's
isn't
a
it
very.
a term for a bathroom also, though?
Yeah, I think so too. But it's
Yeah.
a southern thing. I've heard people call their hot water space a water
Uh-huh.
closet, and then
Uh-huh.
I think it's like a western. Like
Yeah.
I'm going to the water closet.
Oh, you think?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to the water closet.
The water closet. That's a good name for a bar, I guess.
The water closet. Yeah, that would be
Water
a good name
closet?
for a bar.
I don't know.
Yeah, it'd be a good name for a
Whatever.
closet with water in it.
It would be a good name for a water closet. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. We are in Peggy's office, which is also where they keep the hot water heater.
Yeah.
Bobby says, Mom, you got a minute? She says, of course, Bobby. Anything for you, honey. And then she sets the kitchen timer to 5 minutes. Like, that's all she's got. She's got 5 minutes for her own son. He says, I'm trying to find my roots. You know what I'm all about. She says, oh, honey, your roots are very rich. And then she proceeds to tell these stories that are about super regular white people. She says, your grandfather and his father were all married and bought houses and had jobs and children.
Yeah, whatever
What-
the hell
tho-
that mean. Like, what
those
the
aren't
hell?
roots.
Yeah,
What are
those
you
aren't
talking about?
roots.
He said, but did they do anything funny? She said, oh, Bobby, honey, it sounds like you've never heard of the butter churn with a mind of its own. Whatever the hell that means, right?
Yeah.
She says, oh,
White culture, butter churning.
and your great aunt Charlotte, we used to call her Mrs. Magoo because she couldn't see well.
Oh, and she drank.
And then she
yeah, flipped
it's that
it.
it's that
and-
serious pause at the end. She goes, oh, she
Oh.
couldn't see well.
Oh, and she
And she
drank.
drank. I thought that
And
was
the butter,
fantastic.
the butter churn with the mind of its own.
And then the timer dings.
I'm pretty
She's done.
I'm pretty sure there's every Texan at a certain age level that has churned butter. Maybe have you churned butter?
I've never churned
you've never
butter.
churned butter?
No, never churned butter. No.
I turned it once at the Heritage Place.
I churned it once, but then I was asked to leave the playground. So we are outside now with Bobby, Joseph, and Connie, and Bobby's trying it out. You know, he's trying this his roots comedy. He says,
he's
and
trying
the
to find
butter
his
churn
roots.
has a mind of its own. And these kids are just like, what the hell does that mean? You know, they're
Yeah,
just
they
like
were-
looking at him. He said, dang. And then Connie said,
Dead
well,
audience. Yeah.
Connie's like, Connie's always she's trying to help him out. She says, it's kind of funny in an old person's way. He says, you're so lucky, Connie. You're ethnic. Joseph and I are just nothing. We're just white and boring.
White boring.
And Joseph's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody can see that Joseph is not.
No, he's definitely
It's
not.
not. All right, so Hank is now going to the authorities. So he is in the Snap Snizzle Snizzles
Schnozzles.
manager's office, and he says, then, and he's obviously been talking to her for a while. He says,
Yeah.
then he said, my mother was so big her stretch marks had names. And the guy's like, well, has he ever
Well, has
seen
he
your
seen
mother?
your mother?
He said, no. Is she overweight? Not by half.
Not
He
even
said,
by half.
well, then
Yeah.
that's not funny. He said, I never
that's
did
not
get that
funny.
Buddha sack.
So if his mother would have been overweight,
I guess.
and if
then it would have
she
been fine.
would, okay, then it would have been all right.
I guess
yeah.
he would have had to meet her, and she was fat.
Yeah,
I
potentially.
guess that's what
I
he's
guess.
asking.
The joke would have been okay under these circumstances, but yeah,
And-
we're not going to do that.
And then for some reason, he tells Hank to tell Mr. Sack he'd like to see him. Which,
It's kind of odd.
why would Hank go get him? But anyway,
Yeah,
whatever.
he's not a paid employee. I would
And-
have been like, all right, sign this paycheck.
Hank is like, and another thing, these videotapes he's showing are too mild. I'd
Too mild.
like to recommend a movie I saw in high school called Red Asphalt. It showed a fella's brains being scraped off the road. Now that kept me straight. The manager's like, "Oh, I like the way you think, Mr. Hill." In comes
That was a really odd exchange. He's like, yeah, I like the way you think. We need
to get that one with the brains in it.
the one with the brains.
Budusak comes in and he says, "What's up, Boom Boom?" And the manager's like, "I told you not to call me that."
Yeah, he
Now,
got pissed.
Mr. Hill has a complaint. Boom Boom is something they called one of the guys on Welcome Back, Kotter.
The only thing I remember at Boom Boom is the Boom Boom Room
The Boom Boom Room.
off of Life with Martin Lawrence and Eddie Murphy.
Oh,
The fictional,
gotcha.
the bar that he always thought about his whole life, like when he gets locked up
The
and they
Boom
do
Boom Room.
life in jail. All he talked about was, yeah, I got a Boom Boom Room. I got the. It was
gonna
Eddie
start the Boom
Murphy's
Boom Room.
character. Yeah, Eddie Murphy's character.
The manager does not like being called Boom Boom, so he says, "Don't call me that." Now, Mr. Hill here has a complaint. Buddha says, "Hey, it ain't my fault. He don't got a butt. Tell him to take it up with God."
But
Manager says, "Now, Buddha, we've talked about this before. You can't say those types of things in class. You're offending people like Mr. Hill here." Buddha says, "Well, I got something called freedom of speech. Ever heard of the First Amendment? Thomas Jefferson is turning over in his grave right now, and the slave lady's on top."
yeah, it's a little,
Hank does not like that.
yeah, a little
He's-
hectic.
He says, "Now, see here, Thomas Jefferson was a founding father. He designed and built his own house. Like,
Yeah.
that's a point.
Like that's
I don't
that's
understand.
something. The Monticello,
The yeah, it is the Monticello, so
Monticello
Montasnaps.
snaps.
He says, now calm down, you two. This is the manager. He says, Sack, go put the fancy candles on the tables, and I'll
fancy
deal with you later. And
Not the regular candles. They
the
got to be the
fancy
fancy.
ones,
Whatever
yeah.
a fancy candle is.
I'm assuming the fancy ones are the ones with the batteries in them, you know, so they don't burn people.
I thought they were like the long.
Oh, you think they're the
like
long
the
ones?
candelabra
Candelabra,
candles?
maybe they're 2 candles,
maybe they're
you know, 2 or 3 candles. 8.
or
Oh,
16.
that's not that kind of place.
Candles.
No,
not
you
16.
have to put 2 tables together to get that.
Oh, okay.
The manager says, "Now, tell you what, Mr. Hill, you won't. He won't teach her again. Now, I'm not supposed to do this, but why don't I transfer you to our Chocoholics class for the last segment? Huh? How about that?" And Hank seems to be happy about that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he seems to be happy about that. Next thing we see, we are back at in the Hill neighborhood. We see Dale on the riding mower going past the basement window. And the thing I love about this little scene that's just a throwaway is that he's got the gas can literally sticking into the mower while he's just lighting his cigarette, riding the lawn.
Oh yeah, right
lawnmower
there on the
across
lawnmower.
Yeah.
Oh, and if you notice on the lawnmower too, he has the gas can sticking.
That's what I'm saying. It's
inside
like
the, oh,
sticking out of the thing.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
it's
yeah.
fantastic. Now Joseph has
It's like it's filling itself as he's.
Yeah.
It gives him an
Yeah.
extra like.
but he's
5
also
miles.
lighting a cigarette around it, so it's
He's
great.
lighting a cigarette and everything.
He's a genius. Joseph has a wonderful plan. He's going to use Dale's computer in the basement. He says, if we get on the internet, maybe we could find out something funny about white people. Bobby's like, yeah. And Joseph's like, no, we could enter keywords and then find material for your act. Bobby says that's a great idea. All of this is super innocent.
Yeah, what words should we use? White, roots, funny.
Wow. Then a page comes up.
They actually hit when the page pops up, the music in the background is a Dixieland.
It's Dixie,
it's
playing in the background. It is the White Nationalist Brotherhood webpage, is what it says. White Nationalist Brotherhood webpage.
Which is not a good webpage for 12-year-olds to create comedy sketches from.
It's got a couple of flags.
Some hooded Klansmen.
What do you call the flags? The Dixie flags, the Confederate flags on the side. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. Confederate flags on the side.
You know, the Star Wars franchise has been around for some 40-something years now.
Yeah.
And the Confederacy was only around for 4. So I think that Star Wars is more of our heritage in the South here than the Confederacy.
That's true, I guess.
The Republic.
So when the
Republic live forever.
When the White Republic Brotherhood page comes up, they take a commercial break because it's almost like a dun 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 moment, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So now we come back from the commercial break, and Bobby comes out to the alley and asks if the guys are busy because Hank's not out there. He says, Dale says, we can take a break, like they're doing anything. The one thing I did notice on this is you don't see this very often. There's 3 of them standing in the alley drinking beer, doing their yeps. But there's so many cans on the ground.
There's a lot of cans, like they've been just standing out there slugging.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't think that Hank would let everybody just throw cans on the ground.
And that's Hank's not standing there, so I'm assuming nobody is policing this thing.
Yeah, nobody's policing this whole situation.
If you think about it, Bobby is going and asking 3 drunk men if they could take him to the comedy club. If that would be a thing. He says, I need a ride.
3
if
really drunk men.
Downtown.
Yeah.
And he says, I need to try out my new material. Bill says, that's funny. Like it's new material. Bill is an idiot.
Bill's
Bill,
clinically an idiot.
Bill, of course, he's ready to take Bobby downtown. He says, hey, you all come in to talking to Dale and Boomhauer. Boomhauer's like, no, man, you count me out of the dang old cocktail waitress, 2 of them, man. I found out they were roommates, man. Dang old double boink.
Yeah, the dang old double boink.
Double boink. Yeah. You can kind of tell this was written by Johnny Hardwick. I mean,
it's
the Dale
Johnny
joke.
Hardwick
I mean,
episode.
the Dale joke of the lawnmower. It feels like him. So now Hank is pulling up in his car because he's been somewhere. I don't know where he went. And Con is over the fence, and he says, "What do you do to?" Oh, I guess he's been at Sack Nuts or whatever the place is called.
Nuts,
What's the place
Snaps.
called? Snap Nuts.
Snap Nuts.
He's been at Snap Nuts Comedy
Snack
Club.
Nuts. What's your favorite snack nut?
My favorite snack nut?
Yeah, if you had to pick a nut that you were snacking on, what would you like? Pistachios, macadamias?
I really like pistachios.
I like pistachios.
Yeah, those are good, but I don't like dealing with the shells.
I don't really like dealing. That's my problem with eating tree nuts.
Tree nuts
is
great name for
the
a comedy
shells.
club.
Yeah,
tree
nuts. It's the shells that I don't like from tree nuts.
What is a filbert? You ever had a filbert nut?
I've never heard of a filbert.
A filbert.
I am gonna have to order a filbert. I'm going to Amazon.
Nut.
I'm going to Amazon and looking that up.
Order
and seeing
some
if there's
filbert
an
nuts.
one to order.
That's one you got to crack with a damn vice. Those things are hard.
Or a damn hammer.
A damn hammer.
I do want
need
to try
a
one
damn
now.
hammer.
I'm gonna have to try that. Try
a filbert.
Yeah.
A lot of meat in a filbert.
My favorite I like roasted peanuts. I'm pretty simple. I really like roasted peanuts with I like the ones that have flavoring on them.
I get it. Yeah.
Like Tajin or
the thing this makes me a
or tahine.
This is God bless you.
Excuse me.
This makes me sound very cheap, but I don't like peanuts by themselves because I feel like the nut industry, and I'm looking at you, Mr. Peanut, includes too many peanuts in their mixed varietals.
Oh, okay.
It's a filler.
Well, you know,
it's a filler nut.
it is. It's a
filler
It's a
nut.
cheaper nut because when I worked at the candy factory,
Yeah.
we used to order different types of.
Yeah.
You know, you have to order peanuts, almonds, and then we did a hazelnut.
Sure.
Well,
Oh,
the
yeah,
hazelnut
hazelnuts.
bags were
Hazelnuts are
expensive
Yeah.
as hell. Like
Those are tough ones to open,
Like
too.
the commercial size
Yeah.
bag of them or industrial
Mhm.
size, whatever you want to call it.
Oh,
They
yeah.
were like I'm talking about. You could probably buy a brand new pickup for the price of just one.
Oh, I don't
tote,
doubt that.
of
Yeah.
just one tote of nuts.
Yeah. That's why there's
They're
only one
expensive.
hazelnut in
The
every
pecans
candy
were
bar.
expensive too. And whenever they did the pecan run, that was pretty cool too because they let us take all the whatever was left over that didn't get ran because they only ran an X amount of product and they had a
Right.
lot of pecans left over. And of course, we live in Texas, so
We get a
they let people
buttload
take
of
'em home.
pecans here.
Oh man, they let me take so much home. I had them frozen. I was using them like we were making
My parents used to
something
do
with
that.
pecans for
Yeah.
like a year and a half.
Yeah, pecan crusted salmon.
They lasted
salmon,
forever.
Salmon,
They keep really well
salmon
too if you freeze them.
Snaps.
Snaps.
And so
me tell you.
Hank pulls up, and Khan is over the fence, and he says, "What'd you do to Budasak, Hank? He was fired. Now we got to sit through prop comic. I covered in watermelon." So
Yeah.
he's been at the comedy defensive driving
For a long time.
But
Like
Hank has
what's the
not.
time frame? I
Well,
just
that's
want to
what
know
I'm
what the
saying.
time frame is.
It's like during the day
Yeah.
too, which is weird. But
Kinda
anyway,
weird.
Hank says, "I feel bad about that, but the man brought it on himself with his own locker room mouth."
Locker room. mouth.
And then he walks up to the alley and says, "Boomhauer, where'd everybody go?" Boomhauer is
Hey man, I
like,
tell you what, man, that dang old truck, dang old muffler falling off, and ain't got no brakes, man. Sparking flying. I told him fix that dang old thing. Put on some duct tape, man.
it's
what?
one of the longest Boomhauer runs.
Yeah, that's pretty
It
good.
is a very long one. And then he says all that, and then Hank's like,
and then Hank
"What?"
says,
They
"What?
took Bobby
they
to
took Bobby to
Snaps."
snaps."
it's
He
like
didn't even see some of the time when they do that. He
Yeah.
actually says
Right.
what's happening,
Right.
but he
this
didn't even
is-
say anything about Bobby or
This is
snaps
like
or nothing.
Lassie coming up and barking, and they go, "What? Bobby's
What?
in the well.
Bobby's in
you
the
know,
well.
or what?"
Yeah.
So
Yeah, drinking the well whiskey, the
uh,
comedy club.
next we are back at Snip Snap Snizzles, and there is a man spinning on a stool. We do find out that this man's name is Toenail
toenail.
the
Yeah.
comedian, and his big line is, "Oh me, oh my." Now that's what I call general haberdashery.
Haberdashery.
Doesn't even-
I don't know.
what
I
does
just
it
like how he
mean?
said haberdashery.
And then
haberdashery.
he puts on that hat.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks that's
So he missed the whole joke though. Yeah. So we're
Yeah.
walking in on his
That's what I
the
call
clothes,
general haberdashery. And
and he says haberdashery. Yeah.
and so Bobby,
It's like instead of having he drew it's haberdashery. Yeah,
Haberdashery.
Haberdashery.
Bill, Dale, and Bobby are sitting out in the audience at one of the little cocktail tables because, again, it's the middle of the day,
Middle of the day.
but this comedy club is packed
Packed Out Comedy Club,
and
middle
it's
of the day.
dark, which
Well,
is
Chris Rock is there.
a weird
Or Budasak.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird time shift for me, but whatever. Bill tells Bobby, "Hey, do one of those about the cops always be pulling you over." And Bobby says, "I don't do those kind of jokes anymore, Mr. Dotrieve. I got a whole new act. Pop It Fresh is keeping it real."
Pop it fresh.
So Buddha comes up after Toenail is done with his haberdashery and says, all right, let's hear it one more time from my main man, Toenail. All right, give him a little depth. Now settle down. We got a special treat for all y'all tonight. The youngest comic to ever set foot on stage. Give it up for Bobby Hill.
Bobby Hill.
I love how he's got a shirt and a tie on to do his
Oh,
comedy
Bobby.
act.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Real
fantastic.
dapper.
He says, "So, how's everybody doing tonight?" Bill thinks that's hilarious. All he says is, "How's
How you doing
everybody
tonight?"
doing tonight?"
Right.
Bill thinks it's funny.
Yeah.
He says, "Okay." And here's where we get into a little bit problematic stuff that Bobby doesn't realize what he's saying.
Yeah, really problematic. And it's really like I didn't real at first when I was listening to it, I kind of I put myself in the audience.
Sure.
I didn't know that this kid looked up anything on a
Yeah,
crazy website.
No,
and then he starts
nobody does.
talking about the Nordic subgroup of the Aryan race.
He says, "How many people are lucky enough to be members of the Nordic subgroup of the Aryan race? Can I see some hands?" Just complete silence. You hear a little feedback on the microphone, which is always weird to me. Like when there's silence in a club, like in a movie or a TV show or something. Why
the
does
feedback screech.
Why does the microphone feedback? That's
I don't know.
why does that happen? It's
I
not
wish
like
this microphone would feed me some snacks.
it's not like
the
somebody
feedback snack screech.
feedback
Yeah.
snacks. feedback snacks at Snaps.
That snaps.
So he gets all the silence. He says, yeah, it's tough being a white man these days. It's tough, I'll tell you. Folks, I'm so white during the riots, I went out and bought a television.
I actually did laugh at that one.
Which
I
is
thought
not
that was
a bad
pretty funny.
joke,
That wasn't
really.
a bad
That's
joke.
not a bad
I thought that was okay.
Yeah, but people are like, oh, my God. And then Bobby's just like, is this thing on, doing the whole club thing? And people are like, fake, get off the stage. And Dale says, uh-oh, Bobby's in trouble. And, of course, his first instinct is just get up and leave. So he gets up and runs out the door. And then outside the club, he runs into Hank. And Hank's like, Dale, where's Bobby? What's going on? And Dale says, well, he's no toenail.
Well, yeah, that's the thing is every time that anybody's in trouble, Bobby's in trouble, Dale bounces out the back door. So you can't rely on Dale if you're going to be in trouble now.
Bobby, continuing his act in the club, says, okay, and he's starting to like pull at his tie and stuff because it's gotten pretty rough in there. He says, oh, I know. Here's an old joke I heard on the internet. It takes place in the slavery days of yore.
Whoa.
Bobby's about to get killed.
Whoa, Bobby.
Is what's going to happen.
Heel, boy.
Hank comes in just in time, runs up on the stage and says, what? Whoa, Bobby, no. Wait a minute, everybody. This is my son up here, and he's only 12 years old.
Somebody shut that Nazi up, you whitey.
And then Bill says, shut up, you whitey.
Yeah, Bill.
Bill's an idiot. He says, look, this is Hank. He says, look, he doesn't know what he's saying.
And then someone from the audience yells, well, who are you, the Grand Wizard?
Grand Wizard. He says, no. I sell propane and propane accessories.
Yeah.
And then we see Budasak turn into a human. He comes up and goes, yo, what's going on here? Let me get a piece of this. Ooh, Opie, that new act of yours is seriously unfunny. Am I right, y'all? Yeah, you ain't allowed to talk that way. Not in America. Am I right, y'all? And you hear the crowd like, yeah, that's right. He says, wrong. We got a thing called freedom of speech. And besides, look at this kid's daddy. The man ain't got no butt at all. No butt at all. I mean, his booty's so small, he got to hold on to the light cord
Which
to keep him falling in the toilet.
The crowd still seems unenthused at this point.
Said he going to drown. He can't swim. I mean, look at this man's booty. Booty's so small, he going to hula hoop with a Cheerio. With a Cheerio, not Fruit Loops, Cheerio. And there you got the crowd. So
it took him a while, but he finally got him.
It all came back to Hank's butt. And we get the last part of that scene, again, a little weird. It's just Buddha and Bobby staring at Hank's butt. That's what fills your frame. Now we're outside of Snip Snap Snizzles, and Hank says, listen, I got to thank you, Mr. Sack. You kept a real cool head in a crisis situation. And Bobby's like, I'm sorry, Buddha Sack. It wasn't funny.
It was not funny.
Well, he said, don't worry about it, Bobby. You know, Rerun didn't start off funny.
Nope.
Again with the rerun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hank says, well, thanks for saving my boy and not holding it against me that you were fired from teaching. If you're looking for a real job, you ought to consider a career in propane. You know, this whole humor fad is pretty much on its way out.
Pretty much on its way out. Which I think that was a good joke, a well placed joke.
Oh,
by
absolutely.
Some very humorous people.
Yeah. The next scene we get, we're at Strickland Propane, and we find out that Budasak's name is Roger because Hank is talking to him. He says, good job, Roger. You know, I want to apologize for all those things I said about your mother not raising you right.
His name is Roger Budasak. Mr. Roger Sack.
He says, I'm sure if she had planned for you, it would have been different. And Buddha's like, what? Wait, don't make me go upside you. He goes, gotcha, just kidding. So Hank finally develops a sense of humor about the your mama jokes.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I wouldn't say developed a sense of humor.
Well, that's true.
Developed a sense of understanding.
Yes,
I guess still doesn't, because his jokes,
he has no jokes. Yeah.
His jokes are so funny because they're not funny.
So
to me, anyway, I think they're hilarious.
Oh, absolutely. Roger says, check it out. Drew Carey has finally developed a sense of humor.
That one killed me because Drew Carey wears square rim glasses, always has a buzz cut, or always has had a buzz cut. Yeah. Speaking of Drew Carey,
I was going to ask you. Go ahead. Tell us about the tie to Drew Carey.
So speaking of Drew Carey, Diedrich Bader. I've been tweeting a lot, as everybody knows that's listening to us. Some of you probably have found us from Twitter.
You're quite the tweeter.
So we've been tweeting a lot lately, just trying to push the show.
Tweeter sack.
Diedrich Bader, sorry, not Derek. I don't want to say Derek. Diedrich Bader responded back and potentially, hopefully, in October.
That would be fantastic.
I
would
might be
love
able to
talk
interview him
that
because
man.
he did 2 episodes
I met
of
Diedrich.
King of the Hill.
I met Diedrich Bader one time in my life, and it was goodness.
Excuse me, sorry.
It was at an Autorama
Oh,
here
an
in
Autorama.
Waco, Texas.
Okay.
Yeah, it was one of those meet and greet things where you're just going filing through one at a time. Shake hands,
Yeah,
take a
yeah,
picture.
yeah. Shake hands and take a picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's actually done some of my.
He's an
he's
extremely
actually
funny guy.
been attached, and like his attachment to Ryan Stiles too. Like their duo.
Well, he's attached to Mike
and Drew
Judge
Carey.
too, because like you think about Office Space, he's the next door neighbor.
Oh, he's in Office Space.
Yeah, he does
Oh,
the
duh.
breast exam
Dang,
guy.
yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
He is in Office Space.
He goes-
I forgot that he had a deeper connection than
He
King of the Hill.
says,
Did.
he says
That's great. Shout out to Diedrich Bader.
What if-
Hopefully you listen to this.
What would he goes something like? What if somebody told you you had a case of the Mondays? He's
Yeah.
like, no, man, no, that's not good, man.
I don't know if it's
It's
like
fantastic.
I don't know his take on it, obviously, but one of my favorites that he was in was also when he played Jethro.
Oh, sure, yeah,
In
Beverly Hillbillies.
in the Beverly Hillbillies,
yeah,
which had to be cool because Buddy Ebsen was actually in that movie too.
yeah. So he says, "Hey, Drew Carey, your mama is so ugly. When she walks in the bank, they turn off the camera," which is
Ooh.
fairly decent. Hank is
It's all right.
like,
I like that one.
Hank is, and your mother is so ugly, it affects her self-esteem.
That's so fun. It is. It's funny though.
So
it's
good.
It's not meant to be, but it is.
No.
It's not meant to be.
Buddha fires back with, your mama got so much hair under her arms, it looks like she got buckwheat in a headlock.
Buckwheat in a headlock. I've heard that one before.
Which Hank fires back with, well, your mother's hair is so short, she looks like she's not a woman at all, but
more like a man. And then Buddha kind of laughed, but he's like, "Yeah, you got to work on that one, buddy."
Yeah, he said, check it out. It's been so long since your mama's last bath that her hairy armpits smell like propane gas.
And it's funny because at this point they stop.
This is
and
what gets
turn
Hank.
and face
Yeah.
each. They don't like
Yeah.
keep walking while they're talking about it. They stop and turn and face each other. He goes, "Well, hold on there, fella. A joke's a joke, but no, you've gone too far.
Propane.
Has no natural odor. What you smell was actually what was put there by man for safety purposes." Which my friends, my childhood grew up with best
Yeah.
friend.
Yeah.
His dad worked in gas from 1980s all the way through till he retired like 5-6 years ago. And that's what he always told us. He said if you smell sulfur in the air and there's no need for any sulfur to be in the air, he says it's probably a gas leak.
Really?
Because they put a certain amount of phosphorus or
Yeah.
something in it, or sulfur
Yeah.
or whatever it is, to let off a natural odor. Like let off because it has no natural odor. They put the artificial, odor, not natural odor. They put the artificial odor in it so you could actually smell it when it's in the pipelines.
Yeah, so it's a gas leak. Yeah.
So they know where there's a gas leak. And there's he told us some crazy stories. He's like, if you smell it, and it's a certain strength of smell,
Yeah.
he said you're probably already like at the point of where
It's too
like
much.
it's like you're probably already done. Yeah, he said
Yikes.
there was like a crazy story he told us about a guy that actually had to go into a place where there was a gas emergency, and it was an emergency, and he ended up falling out because he inhaled too much gas before somebody could get to him. And by the time they got to him, he had inhaled so much it took forever to get him get it all out of his lungs.
That's not funny at all.
No, it's not funny.
I'm sorry.
So,
We
propane and propane accessories. Wow, there we go. Bring it back. Wimitanye.
we
There
get to the credits, and
The credits are cool. I like this
I
part.
just love these kind of things where they do like the PSAs afterwards, like the one where Hank talked
Yeah.
about his nudity in the show.
And again,
stuff
this
like that.
shows how progressive the show actually is, where people don't think it's as progressive as it is. It is actually pretty progressive in the sense where in the the 90s there's a lot of there's still a lot of tension in the 90s from Rodney King and stuff of the
absolutely.
80s and all that, and there's a lot of strife and stuff, and they addressed it, I think, pretty well.
So you get a PSA here from Hank Hill and Roger Sack. Hello, I'm Hank Hill, and I'm Roger Sack. And he's speaking
Roger
completely
Sack.
differently now, right?
Yeah.
He says,
in a normal, less animated.
Yes. Hank says, tonight's episode dealt with racial stereotypes, especially the myth that white people do not have butts. And Roger says, as you can see from this man standing next to me, that's simply not true.
It's a damn fine butt.
He says, thank you, Roger. He says, it's a damn fine butt.
oh,
He
yeah,
says, thank you. That butt is the bomb.
The bomb.
Yeah, I think it's time for the X-Files. Okay, so when he says, I think it's time for the X-Files, I wrote down time and place as a note because that does pinpoint when this was.
It was Sunday. It was Sunday
Well, that's
night.
what I'm saying. This was you can think back to
Because
the
you know when I
X-Files
turned the
came on
TV
after
off,
this.
when I heard that when I heard that crap,
Really? You
because
didn't watch
made
it?
me, man, I don't know, when I was a little kid, the sound,
yeah?
the particular auditory like experience from that you get from the beginning of X, because
Yeah.
it's an auditory
Oh,
experience
sure
at the
it
beginning
is.
of X-Files. It made me uneasy because I knew X-Files was this like dark, brooding show, and I thought it was horror when it's just aliens.
I liked that.
I thought it was a show I didn't watch or appreciate
Yeah.
until I was grown, because what my expectation of the show was as a kid was that it's like this horror spooky show.
Well, and
And it
some
had a
of them
spooky
kinda
element
were.
too. Yeah,
Some
it
of
really
them kinda
did.
Were, yeah,
Some of them were kind of spooky for like I was what is it, 98? I was like 7, 8, 9, somewhere around there around
the
this
thing I
time.
always think about with the X-Files is it's one of the shows that first taught me kind of about story arcs.
Oh,
The X-File has a general story arc
Yeah.
of the aliens and being abducted and his
Yeah, of course.
sister and all that stuff. But then they would have, you've got a show that needed to put on 22 episodes a year, if
Yeah.
not more. And so
It's the formula. Like you see it with CSI too. Like
Yeah.
all the CSIs, like they
Yeah.
all have the inner story,
Well, they got
but
the
the
filler
fact that you could
episodes.
watch one off,
Yeah.
you could pick. Like
Yeah.
the whole premise of it is we've got this huge overarching story, but if you pick up and watch one episode,
like I always
you could watch it and it not matter for the continuity.
I always think of the one episode of the X-Files, the Fluke monster guy.
The
He was
Fluke
one of
monster.
those fluke worms. He had the big weird fluke.
Speaking of Fluke,
face.
what was that one movie? It was a Stephen King movie.
The Flukes.
No, not the Flukes.
Meet the Flukes.
No, it was the Langoliers.
Oh yeah. There are
I love
flukes
that
in
movie.
You're
Yeah, I
right.
love that movie.
And that is pretty much it. After the credits, we get that's what I call general haberdashery.
General haberdashery.
Which
All
is
right,
pretty
I
funny.
want to thank everybody for everybody's support.
Yeah, man.
Today we tried out a Twitter space.
Twitter space.
I'm going to continue doing this for the Monday recording, and so everybody that popped in, I appreciate it. I was in a box. You stuck out with
I was
this
in a
for the majority
box.
of the show. Appreciate you, buddy. And yeah, so Twitter's been doing
I
really
would love
good.
to know where he came up with that handle, what that means.
And
for him.
also,
Why was he in a box?
konnichiwa to our Japanese listeners.
Konnichiwa.
And domo arigato for listening to our podcast.
Domo
Arigato.
arigato.
So that is hello, konnichiwa, and then thank you
Sure.
so much for listening to our podcast.
Yeah.
So we do appreciate
Hey, if it helps, I was born in Taiwan.
Oh, you were?
I was.
Oh, wow.
My
I
dad
didn't
was
know
in the
that.
Air Force.
Oh,
does
okay.
Does that open up a new crowd for us?
Maybe. Well, I'll have to tweet in Taiwanese.
We just sold a bunch of arms to Taiwan. The U.S.
Yeah.
did. So
So
hey,
you might, some of you guys that are
They got
here
some
from
money.
Twitter or have seen our Twitter, I have been posting in foreign languages, and that
Yeah.
is a social experiment, if you will.
and you've been hitting up these big companies too.
Yeah, there's been a lot of brand interaction. Yeah. So a lot,
Some of these
there's a lot of
brands
those
are great.
brands that are really good. Yeah, and a lot of these brands are really good about just interacting with the people that like their brands. And I'm interacting with brands that I personally like. I like
Wendy's,
some of their brands.
Wendy's, we need you.
Yeah, I haven't
Come on,
reached
Wendy's.
out to Wendy's. Wendy's is one of those huge accounts.
We would
Some
be,
of the brand accounts are actually, you would think they would be massive, more massive
Yeah.
than they are, but they're
Yeah.
really not. And then when you think about it, a lot of these brands are all underneath the same umbrella corporation.
Yeah.
So it's like, is there one person doing
Yeah, I don't know.
Wheat Thins and Triscuits
Yeah.
and like all these separate accounts? So I don't know.
This is a Wendy's, sir. All right. Well, that was fun, man.
Yeah.
That's another one down.
That's another one.
We are well over halfway through season 2.
That's crazy. We're
Yeah.
on episode 16 of
It's
what,
nutty.
22? We're
I'm
almost on
gonna-
season 3.
I'm gonna fluff our next episode a little bit.
You got something for us
I'm
Friday?
I'm the King of the Hill fluffer.
Well, you heard it, guys. He's fluffing Fridays.
I'm fluffing Fridays. We are gonna do a little bit of fan fiction on Friday.
Ooh.
Yeah,
All right.
and it makes no sense. So
That's good. I like nonsensical
Yeah.
fan fiction.
yeah, this is an episode that never happened, never should have happened, and the person who wrote it is nuts. So there you go. Be looking forward to that for Friday. There's a lot of that fan fiction out there. If you guys would like to send us something, where do they reach us, Rusty?
They could reach us on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram at BWAAA. That's 3 A's, KOTH.
Yeah.
And I respond to everybody.
Are we on
And,
Truth Social?
We're doing some marketing research.
Okay.
We're looking into
We just
Truth
look.
Social.
We just look at it and go, "Oh nope."
yeah,
There's
we're
our market
we're
research.
looking into it.
Ah, got you.
We're peering.
Yeah,
peering
I
through
think
the
that
window.
puts you on a list somewhere if you look into it.
Yeah, probably.
So, all right. You can check us out at roguemedianetwork.com or anywhere you get your podcasts. And I guess we'll see you next time.
And don't forget to check out other stuff, too. We got
we
great
got other
stuff here at
things.
the network.
You know what? I want to plug something real quick.
Yeah, plug it.
There is a show that I am starting with somebody who works here. She is a huge Jennifer Love Hewitt Ghost Whisperer fan.
The Ghost Whisperer.
And this show is called Jennifer Love Hewitt, Please Be on Our Show. And the whole intent of this show is to talk about Jennifer Love Hewitt and her work until Jennifer Love Hewitt finally comes on our podcast.
Okay.
So that's my new mission.
All right.
Everybody needs
one. There you have it.
Yep.
Oh, and there was
Gets me out of bed in the
there was
morning.
another semi-famous voice that I forgot to mention in here.
Cool.
So another, B-list, if that's what you want to call him, celebrity. So Glenn Johnson, the owner of Snaps, the guy that he talks
Snaps,
to or
Mrs.
whatever,
Mrs.?
is voiced by John Amos.
Oh, yeah. I know John Amos, yeah.
Who has done stuff like Coming to America.
Yeah, great comedian.
Die Harder.
Very funny.
Oh, his stand-up is good.
Yeah.
He has stand-up too. Yeah,
Good guy.
His
Is he
stand-up's
still
pretty good.
alive?
According to the internet, he is still alive. We're in 1939, so he's still
Good.
here with us.
Wow. Been around for a while.
All right,
Great.
guys. Again, thank you.
All right, guys. We'll
Tanya.
see you next time. And, Wimatanya.
Yeah, I'm Tanya.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast.